This is Mountaineer Insider.
One of the most picturesque settings in all of college football brings us to the high country of Boone, North Carolina.
The App State Mountaineers are going dancing!
Ball down, State puts it in the air.
Got it! Got it! Got it!
To send the student section to its feet.
And now to your hosts, Dave Thomas and Matt Present.
Welcome into the Mountaineer Insider this week on Skyline Sky Best and WATA. I'm Dave Thomas from Curtis Media Group in Boone. Matt Present, he's the radio play-by-play voice for App State men's basketball, which will be here before we know it. Thanks for joining us this week, coming off of a disappointing outcome for the Mountaineers. But I think, when you look back to the JMU game, Coach Clark talking about the effort was there. It's always been effort. And that's something I think about this football team, and we've sort of gotten the vibe from the guys we've talked to already that they're going to give everything they've got no matter what the outcome is.
Well, and I don't think there's ever been a question of effort so far. I mean, the UNC game, you score 40 points in the fourth quarter. The Troy game, you literally need the last play to win it. I don't think there's a question of this team playing a full 60 minutes. Doesn't mean there's not questions. It doesn't mean there's no room for improvement. But I just think what's interesting to this point is not only has this team been in every game so far, but they've played every type of game so far. And you talk about preparing yourself to win a conference championship. You've been in a game where you needed a big fourth quarter. You've been in a tough one on the road against a top 10 ranked team, and your defense barely had to be on the field because they made those big plays. You were in a game at home that you were expected to win by double digits, and you needed that last play, and you made it. And now you've face some adversity for the first time. And so I don't think any coach goes into a season saying, hey, we need to lose a couple games so we can figure it out. But I think that's ultimately what does happen as a result of facing that adversity at this juncture of the schedule.
I think it goes back to Coach Clark, Mr. Gillen, talking about what the Sun Belt has turned into now with the addition of the new teams that are here. So you're going to see week in and week out, you don't know what you're going to get. It is going to be a wild year for sure. We got a couple of great guys to join us on this week's edition of the Mountaineer Insider. Wide receiver Kaedin Robinson will be with us in just a bit, and Andrew Parker, linebacker, will be our guest coming up next on the Mountaineer Insider on Skyline Sky Best and WATA. Welcome back to the Mountaineer Insider on Skyline Sky Best and WATA. I'm Dave Thomas along with Matt Present. This segment is presented by 3333 LLC in support of App State student athletes. We're joined now by Andrew Parker, linebacker for the Mountaineers. How are you, man? Thanks for taking time to join us.
I'm good, man. It's a privilege to be here and talk with you guys. So
we'll talk about your productivity this season. I'll make sure I get it right. 25 tackles through 4 games, 10 against Troy, 8 against Carolina. When you're in games like that where you're just racking them up, are you kind of feel like you're in your own zone? Describe what those games are like when you're really stacking up the tackles like that.
I kind of think it starts with preparation, just trying to figure out what the offenses want to do. And then once you kind of get a rhythm going on seeing what they want to do, it's just kind of getting your flow state and just fly around and just reacting. So, yes, sir.
We'll get into how you got to App State a little bit later, but transferring in from Arkansas, once you got on campus and kind of got in the mix defensively, how long did it take for you to figure out exactly what your role was, just given that transition to a new team?
Not long. I just came in and tried to be the best teammate I could possibly be. Just be a high energy guy, go hard in workouts in the weight room, and study the playbook. And just when I'm on the field, I try to play relentless and full speed and just give 100% effort. So,
kind of watching the way you guys play, the word I like to use is freedom. You have some freedom at your position. Did that impact your decision to come here? How they play, the relentlessness, the aggressiveness, but also the ability to kind of be reactive to how the game unfolds in front of you?
I think that was a big part, just seeing this game is designed for people to make plays, and that was exciting for me as a linebacker. I like to make a lot of tackles and make a lot of plays. So when I got to watch the film and seeing how previous linebackers played in this scheme under Coach Jones, that was a main part of me coming here, for sure, along with the great teammates and coaches.
You mentioned Dale Jones, your defensive coordinator. What does he bring to the table? What's unique about him that's maybe different from other coaches that you've had in the past, and what is it that you take away most from his scheme and his thoughts defensively?
I would say that he's a passionate leader. He's the energy, the fuel system for our defense, and so when he gets fired up, that gets us going as a team, and we want to make him proud. We want to go out there and fly around and make a lot of plays and put it on film and show what he's trying to do for this team. So.
The connectivity, you're talking to your teammates, the connectivity that you have on your side of the ball seems to be very tight. Whether it's a starter, whether it's your second on the depth chart, whatever your position is, it seems to be a real close-knit unit. Does that start with Coach Jones?
Yes, it does. It starts with all the coaches, but I think it also finishes with the players. Just, we pride ourselves in being a brotherhood and just playing together. No matter who's up in the game, we're supporting each other and helping each other out in the game in any situation. So we just want to see each other succeed.
It's been a up and down season so far. You guys have had really high highs, several of them. You've had a heartbreaking loss to start the season. You had a disappointing game the last time out. This team, everyone we've talked to, has talked about this 1-0 mentality. And certainly we understand that you've got an opponent to play this week in the Citadel. But how do you, as you just think back to this first month of the season, kind of wrap your head around the roller coaster, the excitement, the close calls, just all of this in 1 month?
Well, I think you got to take it in. You got to digest it. You got to see where you went wrong and where you went right. And you got to correct the mistakes and continue building on the things that you do good. So I think you got to remain neutral through wins or losses so you can continue to get better and just stay grounded and humble, and then everything will take care of itself.
You talk about getting better. This defense has come a long way from that first game. Where do you notice the biggest improvement from that group that gave up 63 to North Carolina to a group that, there was one defensive touchdown allowed against Texas A&M, and just the growth in just a few weeks on that side of the ball? I
would say communication and just trust between each other. We had a few transfers like myself, and it's a new situation. So just building that trust with your teammates and trusting your scheme and trusting the coaches and things like that. And when that comes together and you have that trust and that bond, it's like music, and you get to go out there and fly fast. So.
We've talked to teammates and coaches about the 24-hour rule. You get to either celebrate or commiserate, whatever you want to do. For 24 hours, you got to turn the page.
Yes, sir.
This week's a little different because you're facing a team that's probably not like anybody else on your schedule all year, running an option. How challenging is it to, you got to turn the page, and every week's challenging to get ready for a team in a few days, but a team that runs something you don't see all the time?
I think it's very challenging, and they do it very well. So you got to really hone in on doing your job and just focusing on doing your assignment, and everything will take care of itself.
How much option have you defended a lot of option through your career, maybe dating back to high school?
Last year, I played Georgia Southern. That was the only team that ran a little bit of option. They're more of a spread option, though. These guys run traditional option. So I haven't really experienced that, so it'll be very fun to see it.
What is that preparation like for you? Not necessarily just for this week and the triple option, but just week in and week out. What are things that you, when you sit down and watch film, are trying to key in on?
Trying to key in on the movement of the offensive line, where would I fit in each and every play, and what's my job, and doing that to the best of my ability.
How much of communicating, we talked with, again, to a lot of your teammates, communication is so key, but working on that in practice so it's natural in a game scenario, is that something that's very common for you guys, that you're always talking to one another, whether you're on the field in a drill or you're on the sidelines watching someone else?
Yes, that's very important, because if you don't do it in practice, you probably won't do it in the game. So the more you practice it, the more you do it in practice, the more it's going to take place in the game. So that's very important, in my opinion.
How would you describe practice at App State? Like, what is practice like? What sets this group and what you guys do leading up to Saturday? What sets you guys apart?
I would say what sets our practice apart is we go hard every day. We fly around, and it's not a game mode, but we're practicing like we're preparing for the game. It's not slowing down. We need to go out there and give everything we got so we can get ready for the game. And in order to get ready for the game, you have to practice like you're playing in the game. So that's what separates us.
You have practice, you have class, and then you have to rest somewhere along the way and get your body right for the game. What's that like for you week to week, and especially coming out of a very physical game like you had on Saturday, getting your body ready to go and do it all over again against something you're not accustomed to and seeing in the Citadel?
Well, it's got to be kind of like a program almost, you know? Like, you got to program yourself to take care of what's important, and school is very important, football is very important, and being able to play football at a high level and being healthy is very important. So you have to find time to make sure you take care of all three of those things. So, yeah.
A lot of sacrifice, I would think.
Yes,
sir. The way, video games, friends, hanging
yes,
out, talking, all that stuff is sort of has to have its own level of priority.
Yes, sir. I'm definitely I like to play Madden a lot, so I don't really have much time to play. You know, I have to get in my film and get other things taken care of. So, yeah, I definitely agree with that.
We were talking a little bit before the show about your studies, and you already graduated with a physics degree, super impressive, now working on your MBA. What has motivated you in the classroom to pursue such difficult degrees?
Well, I started off as a student. I was always a student first, and I've always done pretty well in school, even back to high school, middle school, or elementary school. So I just want to make my mother proud by doing the best I can in every aspect of what I do. And I know that obviously football is giving me an opportunity to do such great things, so why wouldn't I make the best of that? You know.
What is it about physics that drew you to that? Because that's not necessarily a common course of study for a football player.
So growing up, I had a weird obsession with computers. I like to play with computers a lot, and I just wanted to learn a little bit more about the design of them, and physics allowed me to take that route, so that's why I chose physics.
So now working on the MBA, what is it that you think, whenever football's over, what is it that you would like to do?
I would like to own my own business, technology business, and start to venture off and start to create my own versions of technology as far as like phones and laptops. So I think I needed a business background to be able to handle that side of that aspect of what I want to do. So that's why I decided to go and try to get this business degree also.
So it's always a bigger picture then for
yes,
you. Football is just a component to a bigger 3,000-foot plan, so to speak.
Yes, sir. I definitely want to play football as long as I possibly can play it. And I love this game so much. So however long I can play this game, I'm going to play it. And then after it, I have other things that I would like to do also.
He's App State linebacker Andrew Parker. We'll continue our conversation with him coming up next. This is the Mountaineer Insider on Skyline, Sky Best, and WATA.
We are so glad to have you as a student at App State. When you come to college, whether you're coming from across the state or down the street, you bring with you distinct experiences, perspectives, and identities. It's up to us as your campus leaders to help foster safe and inclusive learning communities. Appalachian Advocates is a cohort of faculty and staff who have made a commitment to listen, learn, support, and advocate for members of our community from underrepresented identities. So whether you need help figuring out how to navigate a challenging situation in one of your classes, or you want a more formal mentorship, our Appalachian Advocates are here to guide and support you.
We're back on the Mountaineer Insider on Skyline, Sky Best, and WATA. I'm Dave Thomas from Curtis Media Group in Boone. To my left is Matt President, the radio play-by-play voice for App State men's basketball. We're talking with Andrew Parker, linebacker for the Mountaineers. So let's go back to when you weren't quite so big, and when you first got started.
Yes, sir.
Who put a ball in your hand, and when did football become a passion for you?
That's actually a great question. So I'm from New Orleans, and for Hurricane Katrina, me and my family moved to a place called St. Mary's, Georgia, South Georgia, the Savannah area, close to Jacksonville also. But so I grew up with like a lot of friends, and we created a lot of friends out there. And I looked up to, in particular, one of my mom's best friends, Mrs. Michelle, and she had a few sons that played football for the school called Camden County. So that always intrigued me, just watching them practice and, work on their game. And when I seen that football and I gave it a shot, I knew that was what I was meant to do. So that's what inspired me to play ball.
I read that growing up, even into high school, you were playing both sides of the ball, running back in addition to linebacker. What do you remember most about the offensive side, and how much did that experience help what you see now defensively?
Well, I love playing offense. I love to carry the ball. That's definitely that was kind of my first love, playing running back. But offense definitely allowed me to see the game a lot better. Because as a running back, you're looking for that one crease to take it home. And as a linebacker, that helps you to understand, just having those ball instincts and vision instincts, to understand that running back is looking for that one seam. So if you can beat him to that spot, you're going to make the play. So that definitely helped me out playing offense.
So at what point did you hone in on just being a linebacker? Was it when you came to college, and did that impact your decision to first go to Arkansas, then to come to App because they wanted you on the defensive side of things?
Okay, so in high school, my coach allowed me to play both sides. But then when I started getting more college interest from schools, they wanted me more as a linebacker just because of the size that I had and also with the speed. So I definitely, it was definitely a challenge for me just to hone in at linebacker just because I have that passion to carry the ball so much. But I think it was the best decision for me. So my coach, my high school coach, I'm very thankful for him.
Got to be contact either way, so you might as well generate it, right?
Yes, sir. Yeah, I definitely agree with that.
You brought up your family having to move during Hurricane Katrina, and I'm just interested to learn more about that experience and what you remember, because it was back in 2005 now, but I would imagine that was a really influential part of your life. Like, what more do you remember about that?
I just remember being young, and my mom's telling us that we got to go, and so we just moved, and that's what happened. But as I grew up and as I understood what was going on, like, I look back at it, a lot of my family stayed through it and tried to stay through the storm, and I'm thankful that all of them survived, because a lot of people lost their families and stuff like that. And I think it really gave me extra motivation to be the best I can be, just dealing with that situation and not having the best situation for a few years when I was younger. I just wanted to maximize every opportunity that I got. So that's the impact it had on me. And
did you guys then, after those few years, return to New Orleans?
Yes. So in 2008, we moved back for some family issues and stuff like that. And I was happy when we moved back because I was closer to my family that I had missed for a while. So, yeah.
How did being close to your family impact your first college school choice? As we said, you played at Arkansas, you graduated from there. So was that impactful to you? It's regional, at least, that they could probably get there at a short distance. Did it have an impact on you at all?
Yes, it definitely did. I definitely wanted my mom to be able to come and drive the games and stuff like that. And Arkansas, it wasn't that very close to New Orleans, but it was close enough for her to make a nice drive. So, and she likes to drive distances, so she enjoyed coming up to Fayetteville and whatnot and to watch me play. So it worked out.
You obviously at Arkansas got a taste of SEC football. So I don't know that there were that many other people on this team that they could say that going into the Texas A&M game. Now that you've had a chance to play against SEC teams with Arkansas and then here at App against Texas A&M, like, what was the message to your teammates about what you were going into and how App State is not too far off of that level?
Well, when I first got here, that was the message that I tried to generate to my teammates. When I seen the guys that we had, and I seen them in the spring and see how they were flying around and the talent that we had on this team, it's like if we prepare the right way, we can compete and beat any team in the country. But you got to firmly believe that in this room. And that was my message going into the season, each and every game, and then especially the Texas A&M week, because I wanted these guys to know that we can ball with anybody, not just the teams that we play every week. Whoever we play against, we can compete with them. It's all about preparation.
App State linebacker Andrew Parker is our guest here on the Mountaineer Insider. So you graduate from Arkansas. How did you wind up in Boone? Tell us about that journey, and did you know anything about App State football prior to this whole recruitment process and landing here?
So after I graduated from Arkansas, I decided that I wanted to enter the portal and venture off to some other place. And when I hit the portal, I got a message from one of the coaches here, Coach Jones, and told me to call him. So I called him, and we had a good conversation about me possibly coming here. But I've always been a fan of App State football. App State has always played football the right way. I grew up in New Orleans, which is 3 hours from Louisiana, and I remember the battles that these guys had with those guys. And that team that I saw was a team that was furious and relentless to the football, and they played football the way it was supposed to be played. And I just love the way they play ball here.
Obviously, you speak to App State football on the field, but once you came up to Boone for the first time and experienced this community and experienced the atmosphere here at Kid Brewer, you know, what were the emotions like now seeing the passion behind what's on the field?
It's honestly lovely. Just to see the fans, the passionate fans pack out this stadium each and every week through wins and losses, man, it's a blessing, you know. And honestly, App State Kid Brewer is a very loud stadium. You know, it sounds like a toilet bowl almost, like because everything's so closed in and you just hear it, you know. And I love that environment because it allows you to play better defensively and it gives you an advantage against the offense. So that's what I love the most about being here is that this passionate fan base.
The sound of it, compare that to some of the places you played, because you played in front of some big crowds in the SEC. So is there one or two that stand out to you like, yeah, this is very similar, makes me think about to my experience at said stadium?
Well, it reminds me of War Memorial Stadium in Little Rock. That's the Little Rock Stadium for the Hogs. And it's not the biggest stadium, but it sounds like a toilet bowl. So it's probably the loudest stadium I've ever played in. And that's what Kid Brewer reminds me of. Very loud stadium.
Interesting.
You talked about, you know, your message to your teammates when you first got here. I'm just interested in your perspective. You're a newcomer to this program, but you're a veteran guy. So how have you found your voice as a leader?
Through work, honestly. You know, I try to go out there and give it all I got. So I think when my teammates see that, they allow me to speak to them in positive light and what I feel like can help us as a team, you know. So I think that obviously just being a transfer, you know, I haven't been here for 4 or 5 years like some of these guys, but just to see them accept me as a brother and as a teammate to come here and help this team, it means a lot.
How did the transition you had early in life, you talked about moving to Georgia, moving back, and just the things that have gone on through your life, how did that help you prepare for leaving one school where you've been, you knew like the back of your hand, and coming to a place you didn't know anything other than they played relentless football?
I would say, I don't know, that's actually a good question. I would say it was definitely a shell shock of a situation just because that I was there for so long. Mm-hmm. And so when I got here, it's a new area. It's on the coast, you know, so it gets a little chilly in September. And when I got here, I didn't know what to expect of it, but as I continue to stay here, it feels like home. So that's what it is. Yes, sir.
All right, I want to go back to New Orleans for a moment. Just tell me about some of your food down there, because when I think of New Orleans, I think about the food.
Okay, I'm going to tell you this. Whenever you go to New Orleans, people think that, okay, when you go to New Orleans, there's these top flight restaurants that you can go to, and the best food you'll get from New Orleans is from the corner stores and the gas stations. like the hot food that they make in the back. And that's the real tradition of New Orleans, like gumbo, red beans and rice, etouffee, you name it, they got it. Pies. People like don't understand, like New Orleans are also known for like a lot of pies as well as seafood, like crawfish. So whenever I get back to get a chance to go back home, I'm always eating and stuff like that. So that's why I gotta watch my weight and make sure I'm always, because I will eat everything my mom cooks and that she buys.
So if you could do the team meal,
Yes, sir.
Cajun style, what would you serve this football?
I would serve them red beans and rice made by my mom, seafood gumbo loaded with crawfish, shrimp, andouille sausage, chicken, everything, by my aunt. She makes it every Thanksgiving, and Christmas. And then I would also, I would have a few sweet potato pies in there also.
Save me some.
Making me hungry for sure. There's no doubt about it. Andrew Parker's been our guest, and I was going to ask you about the pronunciation of New Orleans because you hear it so different. I say New Orleans, you say New Orleans, but you hear Nolans, you hear New Orleans. What drives you nuts? What's the one that makes you go, no, it's not the way you say it?
Nolans.
Nolans
For sure. New Orleans is also a little bit, it gives me a little bit of an itch, but New Orleans is the way you say it. You say it pretty dang well. You can definitely come out there and people think you're from there for sure.
I'll fit in. That's good to know. That's good to know. He's Andrew Parker, linebacker for the Mountaineers. And best of health, best of luck the rest of the year. It's been great getting to know you. Thanks for your time.
Thank you.
We'll continue on the Mountaineer Insider after this. This is Skyline Sky Best and WATA.
Life is a journey. We're told that there are mountains and valleys before us. A mountaineer trudges through. Where others see an obstacle, a mountaineer sees an opportunity. A mountaineer climbs tomorrow's mountains today. So what is a mountaineer? A mountaineer is you.
Welcome back to the Mountaineer Insider on Skyline Sky Best and WATA. And it's not just football. There's a lot of excitement this fall, and part of that is a couple of brand new coaches here at App State. Sarah Rumley-Noble and the volleyball team, and Amy Haywood and the soccer team. And for soccer this fall, they began conference play 2-0 after a bumpy non-conference slate, but they're really growing, and they've introduced winning habits. They're talking about elevating this program, but it's not just the current team. They've really made it a point to connect with the past in this program. And so before ULM, they hosted Alumni Day in part of that connection. And it was really cool to have some of the members of the very first soccer team, class of '94, back here at App State, and perhaps even cooler to see the current team just be in awe of what that team went through. And so we show you what it's like connecting the past with the present.
Well, I think we're very proud. We feel like we kind of helped start the program.
What year? 94. 94. When the program started.
Wow. We're the original team. We played on the football field.
That's so cool.
We spent a lot of time together. We all, came here from different places, didn't know each other, but we became best friends real quick because we were together so much.
Well, it's awesome. It's great to be back with all my girls, keeping up, and then it's beautiful, love Appalachian. So it's awesome to be back, really appreciate it.
I think that app just had like a really big part of my life, and so coming back here is just kind of like full circle of like seeing the girls out there, first conference game, and just being back to support them. I think is just special, and seeing some old teammates is always nice.
Oh, I think it's the camaraderie. We had a lot of fun, and I mean, I love soccer. I wish I could still play.
and don't ask me to. I think a lot of it is just the friends that we made. And, we can get together and still laugh and have a good time like no time has passed.
Just being back here and being around them and sharing memories about things we did and like just the funny things that happened in the locker room or like at home or just reliving this like college culture and how much we miss it and just how much we have been appreciative of like that time in our life because it was so important to us and have such positive memories from it.
Yeah, it means everything. We're Mountaineers at heart. So, I mean, this is home. Even though we may not live here, this is home.
Let's go!
To a place where you can grow.
A place to be heard.
And take a closer look.
A place where you can crush it.
And push yourself.
A place to find your voice.
This place rocks. And rolls.
A place where you can get out.
Wow!
A place you'll never forget.
So where is this place? Let me show you.
Hi, my name is Melissa Weddle, and I'm Department Chair of Recreation Management and Physical Education at Appalachian State University. We offer 2 degree-granting programs, one in Recreation Management with a focus in Outdoor Experiential Education, Recreation and Park Management, and Commercial Recreation and Tourism. Our second degree-granting program in Health, Physical Education, and Coaching offers teacher certification for public schools in health and physical education. You can get a minor or certificate in coaching. We are the front porch to the Beaver College of Health Science, where our focus is on quality of life, wellness, and physical activity. We're located in the beautiful mountains of Boone, North Carolina, so come join us, check out our website, or take a class.
We're back on the Mountaineer Insider on Skyline Sky Best and WATA. This segment presented by 3333 LLC in support of App State student athletes. I'm Dave Thomas from Curtis Media Group. Matt present to my left, he's the radio play-by-play voice for App State men's basketball. And to my right, wide receiver Kaedin Robinson. Thanks for joining us and happy belated birthday, by the way.
Thank you. Excited to be here.
A week ago or so, how old did you turn?
22.
22. Man, I like to remember 22, to be honest with you. So let's get into, there's been a lot going on around you and around this offense lately. Going back to Miracle on the Mountain, Part 2, you threw the key block. So break down that play for us and kind of how it went from your perspective.
Well, every day in practice, we usually go over that exact play, which is crazy. So Dalton Stroman, he runs down, we all run down. Dalton Stroman is the jumper, he's the tallest receiver, so he goes up. If he can't get it, he tips it to me or Christian Horn. Christian Horn was fortunate enough to be in that spot at the right time, and he caught the pass, and I just seen him run, turned around, and made the block. So
because you had to turn from I'm looking to make the catch to turn to block in the blink of an eye.
Yeah, it was wild. He just happened to be there. I just had to escort him to the touchdown. So
looked pretty easy.
Yeah,
from my perspective.
You certainly make it sound easy.
Yeah.
As that play is unfolding, I mean, just do you feel like okay, we've got a shot here, or are you kind of just like, man, last play of the game? Like, when did your emotions change? I guess.
Before going out into that drive, like I walked up to Chase Bryce and I just told him, you got to believe because you're the leader. So if you believe, then we all believe. So that's how that went, and then it just happened. I mean, it's crazy because like we practiced it and it actually happened. It was just, I didn't even know what to expect, but it worked out.
When you practice it, how many times has it been caught?
Every time. Because we usually we do it on air. We've never done it on a defense. We just do it on air. So it's just he tips it up, we catch it or something. Yeah.
Now Chase said he felt he underthrew it, which it gives 4 or 5 yard line somewhere in that area. Were you even aware where you were on the field, or were you just focused on the ball and then making the play?
I was just focused on the ball at that point. I knew it was kind of underthrown because I seen Dalton stop, and I was like, whoa, and then he just tipped it down, and then it just happened.
Now, the dog pile that ensued afterward, it appeared you were pretty close to the bottom of that. How long did it take you to get out from under there?
It took me a while. Christian Wells ran up to me and grabbed me out. I couldn't breathe because that whole drive I was just tired from running straight deep routes the whole time, and I had to get out of that thing quick as possible.
I would imagine that's the most exhilarating play you've been a part of, but are there others that come to mind, whether it was growing up in Pee Wee football or high school or any signature moments like that can come close?
No, that was the most wild play I've ever been a part of or seen, honestly. It was crazy.
Yeah, we've talked a lot to Coach Clark and some of the other teammates about the first 3 weeks of the season. The Carolina game, how crazy that was, and you go and you beat Texas A&M, and you come back and then Miracle on the Mountain too. For you as a student athlete, managing all that and still focused on your classes, still try to get some rest and some treatment, what was the first 3 weeks like for you to try to keep all that contained?
It was just like a roller coaster. Going to classes and keeping, like you said, doing all that is hard, so you just got to maintain and keep going.
I'm just trying to conceptualize, like, as you take a step back and you look back at the first month of the season, like, what is your reaction? Because obviously the common theme is 1-0 this week, and certainly, Citadel is a new opponent that does different things. But when you sit back and think about this first month and the crazy highs and the oh so closes, like, where are you at? Where's the team at?
I'm just in like a wow, just a wow. But you gotta love the highs and love the lows. With football, that's just how it goes. You win some, you lose some. You just gotta keep pushing, keep fighting, keep that grit, keep that hunger. So we'll be ready for the rest of the season.
Now, you're a kid from Western North Carolina. We sort of lost over the Texas A&M game. You go down there and the heat was a big factor. What was that like for you managing? You played around other places, of course. So had you played in a situation like that where you had to really manage the heat in your body as well as the game? Definitely. When I was at my time at UCF, it got really hot down there. So I managed the heat really well, and I feel like we did as a whole. And the trainers kept ice towels on us, so they kept us fresh, honestly. So. And that started, what, Wednesday, I imagine, hydration? And you
Monday.
Hear that? Oh, Monday.
Yeah, Monday.
Kevin Barbay, your offensive coordinator, there have been teammates of yours that have come on the show and called him a genius. How would you describe this playbook and his scheme and what you guys do offensively?
He is a genius. He's probably the best. He's the best I've been around. The play calling, just the way he draws up plays so quick, and how they work, how we execute them. It's fun to play for a guy like that.
Now, obviously, at wide receiver, size and speed matters. You've got the size and you've got the speed. What is it that makes you good at what you do? I mean, because you've got a guy on you, sometimes two guys on you, close proximity, you got to use your arms, you got to free yourself. So what is it that makes you good at what you do?
Just taking advantage of my size and my speed. I'm a big physical guy. I like to block. So a lot of the guys here, they're not really as big as me. So I like to block, and that separates me from other guys. Did that make you appealing when you were looking to transfer? Because a lot of receivers don't. They have to be taught to block week by week, and you'll hear coaches and position coaches talk about that. But for a receiver to come out and go, hey, yeah, this is one of the things I really engage in, did that make you more of an attractive when you were looking to transfer? Definitely, because I had a lot of film on me just blocking, and coaches love that. So they love a receiver who can block, who will actually block. I bet your running backs like that too. Yeah.
When did blocking become kind of your calling card? Because I would imagine, growing up, you're not thinking about that as a wide receiver. You're thinking about blowing past the DB, making a great catch. So when did you realize how vital that would be to your game?
When I got to junior college, because all I cared about, I just wanted to get the stats. I was trying to get in and get out. And then my receiver coach, he was fresh out of college. He's like, man, you got to learn how to block to play at the highest level you want. So I really took that in and just tried to make the best of what I could do with it.
App State wide receiver Kaedin Robinson is our guest. Let's go back to the catch against Carolina. Came at a very pivotal point in the game, a lot happening there. And we talked about the first 3 weeks and the emotional ride. But a game like that itself, and then you're a relative newbie to App State, to step in that role and make that catch at that. What did that mean to you?
That meant a lot. It's been a long time coming for me because I didn't really get the opportunity at UCF. So playing against Carolina, playing against the team of the state, it was good, and I just knew it was going to happen. I seen the safety separate and Chase just threw it, and I made the play. So
the film study played into, because I went back and watched the play again. I watched it several times. How you just sort of blew by him because it's almost like you knew what he was going to do. Yeah. Was that a fact?
Definitely, yeah. Because the nickel opened up and I seen the safety get wide. I knew it was cover two, and I just knew where to get, and Chase was going to put the ball there. So then
all you got to do then is catch the ball.
Yeah, makes my job a lot easier.
You talk about Chase both in that play and in the conversations in the huddle. What's the process of building chemistry for you with the new quarterback?
It just takes back to when I first got here, just getting in, watching film with them, going over like defenses, their schemes, just everything, running routes. It all plays a factor into that.
You pay attention to pro ball. Wide receivers are starting to get paid now. Before it was all about the quarterback and the running back, linebackers. Now receivers are a premium. So speak to a young man out there who might be listening. I want to play receiver. I want to make the league. What do you have to do on your own? I'm not talking about practicing with the team, but on your own, what you do to get yourself ready to be a part of this team and go out and contribute each week.
First, I think it's a mindset. It's a want-to thing. You got to get out there and do it. You got to get out there and work. You got to work hard. You got to listen to the people around you. That you got to take coaching, and that's where it starts.
And then, of course, repetition. I mean, how many passes would you catch on your own working out over the summer and those kind of things?
We would always try to get 100 a day, me and the receiver group. So
that's quite a bit.
What's the chemistry like within the wide receiver room? What are your meetings like? What is kind of that time you guys spend together? How would you describe it?
I think we're really close because going into this season, you had the older guys left, Corey Sutton, Thomas Hennigan, Malik Williams. So all the question rooms were in our group. So that made us go harder, come closer together. That's why we wanted to be so good. We were catching so many balls every day in the summer. But I feel like we're really close. Coach Dawson's a great coach. We listen to him. He's done it at the highest level. So it's been great to work for a guy like that as well, too.
How does that help you, though, on game day, even if you're not the guy on the field at the time? Everybody seems to have a role, whether you're playing or whether you're not playing. So how does that help you get through the chore of playing at a game, because it's not easy?
Yeah, the guys definitely who don't play as much, they always support us. They come to the sideline. You drop a ball, they're like, man, you got it. Pick it up, you got it, you can do it. So it just comes with that belief, and we just think about how it was in the summer and then go from there.
App State wide receiver Kaedin Robinson's our guest. We'll come back and continue on the Mountaineer Insider on Skyline, Sky Best, and WATA.
Well, it means a lot. I'm a baseball fanatic and have been since my father used to take me to baseball games all over the country. And App State's, of course, home, and it's my people. And baseball program's great. I love the Coach is, and what they're doing here. And we needed a scoreboard. I was with Coach at Wake Forest only a couple years ago when he laid a whipping on them. And I just was talking to him, kept looking at the scoreboard, and mamas would all start clapping when their baby's pictures was up on the board. And I said, we need to be able to show our players and our fans and pictures here, and that's what this is about. We're going to make baseball what football is in Boone. It already is extremely important. And everybody that comes to Boone to play baseball leaves going, I've played baseball in the most beautiful setting in the country. But we're going to have championships coming for baseball just like we do football. This program's tremendous. Our facilities are tremendous, and we're going to the next level. I'm going to take a little batting practice if I can limp over there. Coach, if you throw me a few pitches, I'll take a little batting practice.
This is the Mountaineer Insider on Skyline, Sky Best, and WATA. I'm Dave Thomas from Curtis Media Group. Matt President, the radio play-by-play voice for App State men's basketball, joining us. App State wide receiver Kaedin Robinson's our guest. We were sort of talking in between break there, kind of about your career. Let's go back a little bit before we touch on high school. And when did you start playing? Who put a ball in your hand?
My father. Yeah, he put a ball in my hand when I was a baby. Before I could remember, I see pictures. I'm like, I don't even remember. But he definitely put the ball in my hand first.
And was he the guy that sort of coaxed you along and got you kind of into the game? And when do you recall going, yeah, I really want to do this?
When I was 4 or 5, he would go outside. We would run routes. And yeah, he was my little league coach all the way up till I got to middle school. So,
what positions were you playing at that point?
I was running back my whole life. Yeah.
When did you switch to receiver then? Because you talked about running routes with your dad when you were little. So
yeah.
When did you make the switch?
I switched after I tore my ACL in high school. I was like, I might as well switch over, and then took it from there.
Was there something about the injury that made receiver more tenable for you, or was it just a personnel thing on the team you were on at the time?
It was a personnel thing, I think. Actually, going back before then, we had a senior above me, and he was a good running back, and I was like, I want to get on the field. And then that's when I played receiver, and I fell in love with it. So
the injury can be a setback, or it can be kind of a map that you sort of lay out. What was it like for you having to sit and watch and then try to put the pieces of your future puzzle together?
It was tough. It was hard, but my family, my support, and I had a lot of support from my family, so they helped me keep going, kept me motivated to keep going. So yeah.
So you were telling us in the break, you transferred high schools, you started going the JUCO route before going to UCF. You've been all over the map in terms of where you've played. What has that experience been like to play under different coaches, to play, in different areas geographically? Like, how would you look back and reflect on your football career to this point?
It's been a road, I would say that. It's been a long road, but I've enjoyed every bit of it. Like you said, I'm from Asheville originally. I played in New York. I got to see the great city of New York for a year. I got to go down and see Orlando, Florida for a year, and I got to be able to come back home, but it's been fun. I've enjoyed every bit of it.
Now, you reclassified and played at a prominent private school in Asheville. So what was the recruiting process like? You said you went JUCO, so walk us through those couple of years there for you, trying to figure out where your next step's going to be.
So when I tore my ACL, I transferred to Christ School, which is a private school in Asheville, North Carolina. Sat out that junior year. I did junior year twice. I sat out that year, and then I got to play that senior year. Academically, I didn't end up Division I eligible, so I was getting a lot of D2 interest, a lot of JUCO interest at that time, and I wanted to go play. I wanted to play at the highest level, and I was gonna settle for a D2, but I was like, Dad, I can't do it. I gotta go. I gotta get another shot at this. I gotta see if I can, if it was meant to be. So I decided to take the JUCO route. ASA Brooklyn was the right fit at the right time. I didn't want to go to like the top-notch JUCOs and maybe sit behind a bounce-back Alabama or Auburn transfer. I wanted to get out there and play, get out some film. So I transferred. I went to ASA and then had a great season. Finished up, graduated on the dean list. I didn't let that hold me back, and then ended up getting a lot of offers.
You talk about going from a guy who was not D1 eligible academically to a guy who finishes on the dean's list. Like, what was there like a light switch for you academically where all of a sudden you prioritized that more? Like, what clicked for you that allowed you to make that jump?
Just not getting the offers that I felt like I deserved in high school, which I understood I couldn't get into school. So at that point, I just seen all my boys signing D1. I'm just like, dang, I gotta get right. So it's not that I couldn't do the work. It was just I was just being a lazy freshman and sophomore and try to catch on later on, but it just didn't happen. But that was the light switch that happened, and I grew up. So. Yeah. And
then you make the move from, and I'm familiar with Asheville, I've been to Brooklyn, a little different there culturally. So what was it like for you being up there on your own? Because you've already had this big boy conversation with yourself, I got to do better, and I'm going to go this route because I know I can do better. So what was that year like for you being in Brooklyn?
It was hard. It was hard being away from my family. Like, I had to move into college by myself. Like, I flew up to New York with 2 suitcases, just walking around, trying to find the apartment that I was going to live in. It was hard. I was 18 years old, but like you said, I grew up quick. I learned how to, but New York was fun. I learned how to work the train system. My family would come visit me, and they're all lost. I can go find them. So it was good. I love New York.
And then coming back home, I would imagine that being from Asheville, you've heard of App State before, but talk me through the kind of secondary recruiting process coming from UCF and transferring here to the Mountaineers.
Leaving the portal, entering the portal, it was difficult. I didn't know where I was going to end up. I had a lot of interest from a lot of schools, but in my heart, I knew I wanted to come here just because of the relationships I had previously with the coaching staff through recruiting. And as soon as I hit the portal, like, they all called me, so it was just like a warm welcome. And I was like, Coach, I'm coming. You don't got to tell me nothing. So that's how that kind of went. So.
Kaedin Robinson, wide receiver for the Mountaineers, is our guest. Looking at your Twitter page, scrolling back through the commitment photo, you and Coach Clark there, and just the smile on both of your faces. I'm looking at it going, there seems like there's a deeper connection here than just, okay, he's here, we're going to snap a photo, and I'm going to go to the next player. So there's a bond there with this staff.
Definitely, because they recruited me, like Coach Watts, when he was the receiver coach back here in 2015. He's been here forever, so he was recruiting me when I was 16 years old. He's been recruiting me all the way through high school, and then Coach Clark got on when he became the head coach. They would call me every day through recruitment. They would call my mom, they would call my dad, they would FaceTime me, they would call me cooking, showing me meals, and it was just it was a great connection, and I just knew I wanted to be here around them.
From Asheville, did you come to App State games when you were in middle school or high school? Had you been to Boone prior to committing to App State?
Yeah, I came on a few visits in high school, like early on, like sophomore year, junior year of high school. But after that, not really, no.
Do you remember those visits and what might be different now than then?
I don't really remember any difference, honestly. It's kind of the same, other than the new facilities and all that. But it's always been like a warm welcome around this whole program, from the trainers, from the equipment room, from everyone. So
we talk to your teammates, whether it's offense, defense, special teams, whatever, and the term app guy comes up a lot. How do you describe an Appalachian State University football player?
A person that works hard, a person that wants to be good and be great, and yeah.
And how much of that family atmosphere comes into that? Because we hear that word a lot when we talk with your teammates about, you mentioned it, it's family, it feels good, but you gotta, if you're not the guy on the field, you gotta support. We've sort of touched on that a little bit. So how much of that factors into being an app guy?
I feel like the family thing comes from, like, we work out at 6 a.m. through the summer. Like, a lot of people, everybody sees the outcome. No one sees what we put in. So I feel like that's where we build connection and become stronger through them workouts at 6 a.m. when it's snowing. And so that's where I feel like that comes from.
Coming to Boone, obviously the football program is, your focus here, but where have you found yourself just, in the community? What do you like to do when you have that downtime, in the town?
I like to try new restaurants, all the little different restaurants up here, so yeah.
So food's obviously important because you touched on the coaches showing you cooking and the game day atmosphere. And knowing now that your family's in the stands, because I'm not sure how often they made it to Brooklyn, but now that you can look up and see them there, you know where they are, kind of thing. Walk us through that feeling of home.
Yeah, like you said, it's home. My family didn't get to make a lot of the games at UCF, but here is good because I can have family, friends, my grandma could come, everyone can come here, and then you can just look up and they're up there cheering for you, so it feels great.
How would you describe that atmosphere when you guys run out of the locker room for the first time?
It's wild. I've been in some big stadiums, but this stadium gets real loud. It's close together, so it's like you hear everything, and it's crazy.
And of course, when you guys are on offense, you want them to quieten down sometimes. It's like you have to focus on, hey guys, we need you to tone it down a little bit so I can hear, because that's so much a part of what you're trying to get done.
Yeah, sometimes, but usually as a receiver, you just got to watch the ball. Sometimes, like when I'm on the field, I don't really hear the noise. Even when we was at A&M, it's 100,000 fans, I didn't really hear it, but the defensive guys was like, man, when y'all were on third down, it was loud. But I couldn't really hear it.
Last question for you. You're in a lot of coverage one-on-one, or you're working with against the same two or three guys. Are you a trash talker or no?
Not really. No, I'm not really a trash talker. Unless they start barking at me first, then I'll have to bark back. But I let my game play, and then I let my game talk for us.
And do you feel you get that? Because you're bigger than a lot of the DBs. So do they talk a lot of smack?
Yeah, they talk a lot of smack. They're like, oh, you're big, you can't move, and then I'll beat them, and they're like, I'm like, what? So that's usually how that goes.
Usually that solves it all. What? That's the answer. Kaedin Robinson, thanks so much, man. Best of luck. We appreciate your time.
Thank you.
We'll continue on our Mountaineer Insider segment for this week after this on Skyline Sky Best and WATA.
As I speak to incoming students, I get to see the excitement they have for this next phase of their lives. For some, they are the first in their families to go to college, and others are continuing a legacy of pursuing higher education. We know the journey through college is not always easy. Research tells us that obtaining a college education can be even more challenging for our students from underrepresented backgrounds. Appalachian Advocates is an opportunity to work with a cohort of faculty and staff who are willing to help foster a welcoming campus culture. Thank you for joining us.
We're back on the Mountaineer Insider on Skyline Sky Best and WATA. I'm Dave Thomas along with Matt Present. We say this week in and week out, but as guys who've done this for a long time and talked to a lot of college athletes, I continue to be impressed with the football players here at App State, because it's not just football. Every week we learn something about them that is fascinating. It's one of the reasons this show is sort of conceived to be what it is. So you get to know them more than just a number on the back of a jersey. And I was fascinated by Andrew Parker talking about what got him into physics and the passion he has off the field for that.
No doubt. Two guys that are very smart guys. And I think that that's something we could say across the board. I mean, not just the fact that the guys we talk to week in and week out are so insightful and articulate on the show, but their passions off the field. I mean, you mentioned Andrew Parker and his interest in computers, but Kaedin Robinson too, talking about, okay, he didn't always give it his all in the classroom, but then when he realized that was costing him a Division I opportunity, he landed on the dean's list the next semester. So it was always there, and certainly he's brought that to the table, moving and transitioning to App State, transferring in from UCF. But Dave, for me, in addition to that, we talked to two transfers this week.
Right.
And it's a team, by and large, comprised of fourth and fifth year seniors, exercising that COVID year. A lot of guys who redshirted early on in their career. And yet, when we talk to Kaedin and Andrew, you don't feel like they're outsiders. You feel like they're very much a part of this culture and family.
I think it means that when you're a transfer and you want to come to App State, you got to be the right guy. You got to be an App State guy. You got to have the essentials to get that done, to fit, because it is a puzzle they're putting together with these guys in the locker room, and all the puzzle pieces have got to fit. We thank you for joining us for this week's Mountaineer Insider on Skyline Sky Best and WATA.
We have a great department. I think the communications department at Appalachian is stellar. But what's really awesome too about journalism at App State is how easy it is to get involved in student media compared to other universities. I know some people don't really move up into like reporter or senior reporter until their senior year of college. So it's been really cool to be a part of student media and to have like really accessible ways to lead and also to grow within journalism and kind of bring that back to classes. Journalism is a really cool thing to be involved in if you want to kind of help make an impact in your community or for a certain group of people while still being ethical. I think journalism is needed. Here at the Appalachian, we serve as watchdogs for the town of Boone and also Appalachian State University. So if that's something that you're interested in, I definitely encourage you to be a part of that. When you see a first-year reporter go out and ask amazing questions, craft a story where we basically say, like, if you have any questions on structures, let us know. But we also encourage you to look at, our website. And when they do look at that website, they do turn in the essay or that article. And it's great. Like, that's a really cool thing to see.
So I actually originally came in as a music major. So that was something that I, was really looking for. And when I did change to journalism, just I already had some friends in the department, so I knew like it was a good place for it. I got started and found out that it was like absolutely something I really, really enjoyed doing and something I could really see myself doing in the future. I think one of the biggest benefits is like the connections that I've been able to make, whether it's like, some professional, but like more importantly, the people that I'm writing with, like the other people on the desk, the rest of the writers of the Appalachian. So especially in like those first few recaps or stories that I have put out, really the editors have helped a ton in terms of improving myself as a writer, and then also making it easier, knowing that it's okay to make a mistake, because it's going to get worked out at some point. First part is coming up with the idea. Like if one player is doing really well and has consistently done well or something like that through their career, we'll be like, hey, I want to write a feature on this guy. And then after that, you got to go through like communications and set up interviews and everything, come up with your interview questions. Usually I'll like write them down like in the little notes tab. Headline ideas are tough, but after all that, it just gets sent to editing and you just work through edits. The first edits that like I'll go through are like any sort of like word replacement that they'll suggest or just like grammatical things. Some of the more difficult ones for sure are asking you to like reword things in like a certain way, or like maybe they'll ask you to like break up a certain paragraph or something like that. It's kind of nice seeing it go up online, but seeing it in print is just like a whole nother like, I don't know, it's like a whole nother level of like excitement, because you can like hold it physically, you see it right there. And you know, it's like a little like trophy you get to keep, you know? Like I have mine hanging on my wall because, you know, I was just so excited about it.
Seeing that seriousness from them is something that instills a little bit more hope in me, that, you know, we can continue to pass down how important, you know, our journalism is here at the Appalachian throughout the years.
I've really enjoyed it so far, and I'm really excited to keep working with the Appalachian.